let's just be done. I'm about done with this. So, leading off our notes from last time. So we had started our slope notes. We got about halfway through and then stopped just for time-wise. So we had talked about slope, uphill, downhill. We watched Slope Dude. Talked about steepness of a line, how steep a line is, uphill, downhill, doesn't really matter. As long as we're talking about steepness. So then we're going to talk about parallel and perpendicular lines. So we've talked about parallel and perpendicular in terms of proofs and in terms of angles. And you probably talked about that a little bit with algebra, like back in algebra, you probably learned about parallel and perpendicular lines, but you might have forgotten. Does anyone need a copy of these notes? Does everyone here or find them? Where we left off from yesterday. Okay. I always have extras, but I don't want you to wait to tell me you don't have them. So parallel versus perpendicular lines. So tell me what we know about parallel lines or perpendicular, or maybe more specifically what you know about them in terms of what we're going to be talking about here in terms of slope. Anyone have any thoughts about either? Start easy. What do you know about parallel lines? They never cross. They don't intersect. Now, that's an interesting fact about parallel lines. That's not going to be quite as useful as what we're talking about today, other than when you see them on the graph. They should never cross. Perpendicular, how do those ones cross? Specifically at what? 90-degree angle. So they intersect at a 90-degree angle. Now, those are both true facts, but that's not really what we're going to kind of talk about or use today. We're going to talk specifically,
Parallel lines have the same slope.
Very good. That's what I want to get at. So parallel lines have exactly the same slope. And if you think about that, that totally makes sense that that would be the case to make sure they never cross, so they're the same distance apart all the time. So they have exactly the same slope. So the ends are going to be the same. So if I say these lines are parallel, the slopes are going to be identical. So then perpendicular is kind of the complete opposite. So they need to cross, but they need to cross specifically at a 90-degree angle, and it has to be 90 degree. And again, this is something you probably learned in algebra, but maybe you forgot, because this one is, even my Algebra 2 students take a little bit to get it. Does anyone remember what would be true about their slopes? Because they're obviously not going to be the same, because they need to cross. Yeah, you think you remember? They're going to be opposite signs, that's half of it, and then what you just do with your fingers. You just, I don't know if you realized you did that. So when you did that, I thought you were realizing. You have to flip the fraction as well. So I don't know if you did it without knowing that good. So it's the opposite sign. So if it's positive, then it's going to be negative, or vice versa. And then if it's a fraction, we're going to flip the fraction over. So we call that the opposite reciprocal. And I'll write it in real people words in a second as well. So they're opposite reciprocal slopes. And what that means is opposite is I change the sign. So either positive or negative. And reciprocal means I flip the fraction. So I change the sign and flip the fraction. And I'll show you guys an example of that. So if my first slope is 2, what do you think my opposite reciprocal slope would be then? Negative? Yeah, so it's negative because this one's positive, this one's going to be negative, but we have to flip the fraction. Right now, this doesn't look like a fraction. The way to make it a fraction is to put it over 1. So I have to flip the fraction as well. So our opposite reciprocal slopes would be 2 and then a negative 1/2. Does that make sense? So you flip it over and you change its sign. You make it as different as it possibly can be. You try to change as much as you can about it. So let's look at that in terms of slopes. So like we talked about yesterday, we're going to look at the slopes of lines as they have line 1 and line 2, kind of like what we did yesterday with steep and steeper lines. We're going to talk about the slopes. So actually right now, why don't I have you guys find the slopes of line 1 and line 2. So take a minute to find the slope. You're going to use the slope formula. Don't forget about that. We're using this formula, so you guys can find the slopes of line 1 and line 2. So an example for letter A to start with. Find each of those slopes. We'll talk about them. To finish that one, you could look at letter B. I just want to give everyone a chance for at least letter A. Find the slopes of each of those. You guys in a second here. I'm just going to give you guys another couple minutes to try. Now, if you find the slope wrong, it's really hard to tell if you're right or wrong. So just heads up on that. So if your slope is wrong, you're going to have to fix that first. Cross off October 1st. Were you guys usually my ones to cross it off for me? I'd look up and I'd see it at first, but it wasn't crossed off, and then I noticed it was. Kind of satisfied me. Okay, so it's fine if you want to. So for slope 1, I'm finding the slope of the line 1. So I do -2 minus 1 over -7 minus the -3. Sorry, distracted by Miss Woller's yelling over there. So on the top, I have a -3. On the bottom, I have a -4, right? -7 plus 3. So 3/4 is my slope for the first one. Now, if you haven't noticed, it's really important to be really precise. So negatives versus positive are really important, and we want to simplify it as much as we can. So if you made a mistake, that's why we're practicing. Like, so just know that it's easy to make a mistake with these. So then we have 4 minus a negative 1 over 8 minus 2. I get 5 over 6. Yikes. That really has no comparison to 3 over 4. 5 over 6 compared to 3 over 4. They're not opposites, they're not reciprocals, they're also not the same. So we just say these are neither parallel or perpendicular. They would cross at some point. We could talk about like steeper or less steep. Sorry. Trying to write neither as I was saying that and nothing was coming out right. Which one would be steeper? Which one's steeper? Which one's bigger? 3/5 or 5/6? Or 3/4 or 5/6? Which one's bigger? Yeah. 5/6 is bigger. So if you're comparing steepness, this one would be steeper than that one. 5/6 is closer to being a whole because the 6th is a small slice compared to a 4. Okay, so that one's neither. So know that that's a possibility of having neither. And sometimes that none of the above answer is kind of like freaky, like whether or not that could possibly be right. All right, so let's find the slope of this next one. So I get 2 minus 3 over 5 minus 0. Negative 1 over 5. Seven minus 2 over 2 minus 1. So 5 over 1. So these are going to be perpendicular. Now careful, if we needed to simplify, we'd want to do that as well. These you didn't have to simplify, but make sure you do have them simplified as you check these. But these are opposite reciprocals, so they're flipped and the sign is changed. So these would be perpendicular. Okay. Let's do this example 5, and then we're going to take a little notes break. All right, so it says graph the line that contains Q, which is 4, 2. I'm going to put 4, 2 on the graph. So here's Q. And then it has a slope of negative 1 over 6. Can you see that little negative there? Sorry, my font got weird here. So negative 1 over 6. So in this case, first of all, knowing our slope is negative is really, really important. Think about slope, dude. He's going nice negative. He's excited about this one. This is going to be fun. He's happy. He's going downhill. So being aware of that is important, that you're kind of going into it realizing that. All right, so knowing we're going to be going downhill is important. So from Q, we're going to do our slope. So tell me where to go from Q. Does this help? Rise over run.
One down and 6 to the right.
Sorry, go ahead again, Peyton.
I said 1 down and 6 to the right.
So he's saying going down 1 and then 6 to the right, because this would be a negative 1 over a positive 6, and that's what we want. We want a negative slope over a positive 6, so we're going downhill, and that looks good. What's our other option? What other way could we go? Yep, go ahead, Adela. Up 1 and then left 6, or like back 6, yep. And I can kind of keep doing that because I have a few more spaces I could go. So we're able to draw that line using our slope and using the Q they gave us. Now, we're not used to graphing this way. Typically we graph, bless you, starting with like the y-intercept. We're gonna do that in the next few days, but right now we're just starting from the point they give us and doing the slope from there. Okay, questions? All right, so we're gonna take a break. We're gonna do a fun Kahoot. I figured we'd go with our theme of the week in superheroes, so I found a superheroes Kahoot. If you're not good at superheroes, okay, we are gonna finish notes, so don't put those too far away. Those of you guys online, I'll leave the Kahoot up, but you're not gonna be live with it. Of course, you have fun.
Oh wait, I watched.
So those of you guys who are secret superhero fans,
I've never watched that either. I've never watched.
who thinks they're good superhero people? Are you? Oh, we got some in here.
Never watched a single movie.
I looked at a few questions, and I don't know much about superheroes, but I'll have an idea about some of them.
I know
This is not my genre of movies, so I'll even play too, and I'll probably get beat by you guys. Mr. Donahue and the boys like them, but oh, like really long. Sorry. I usually take a nap while they watch a superhero movie.
the last
Or
time
go for a run.
I was
Is it
playing a
Spider-Man?
Batman video game on the 3DS. Because I do that.
I feel like you're talking gibberish right now. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Nintendo 3DS.
No,
Nintendo, bro. It's
the first gift I ever bought for Mr. Donahue was an old school Nintendo, like the first Nintendo system. I found like a vintage one. We're not quite that old, but we have like an old school Nintendo. The first one that could buy. My friend said she knew that's when it was love. She saw me buying a Nintendo.
No, just playing Batman.
Alright. So I think this is just various superhero trivia. And some of you guys, if you really know your superheroes, I wouldn't know if these questions are like valid or not, so I apologize ahead of time. I did not make this, I just found it. Figured we just use it. Like I said, I looked at the first one and I was like, oh, I know what that is, so it seems valid.
I don't know.
I've seen the Lego Batman movie.
Yes! Yes.
I love the Lego movies, though. Those are funny. Look at me in second place. That's not gonna last long. I love how the colors don't all match up.
There's different lanterns.
I know, I was gonna ask the same thing. Are there more than one lantern?
I have no idea.
Okay. Like I only know that there's a green lantern, but I like that the green lantern's on the red to like confuse you. Does that give some of you guys OCD complex?
Oh.
Oh, look at that. This is Donnie's still on the leaderboard.
How am I supposed to know this?
I have no idea. I've never heard of any of those before. I probably should. Hit a button.
Hey,
How
right.
am I supposed
I was just like, I think I've heard of that guy.
Well, you're supposed to not hear of that guy, right? All of these guys, you're like, so these guys were all Robin at some point.
Bruh.
Right.
That's.
I feel like the one I got.
Yes.
I did it, I'm unbelievable.
I was kind of thinking Faith might kick our butt at this one. I don't know. You're not. Don't you know superheroes, Faith?
I know.
Oh, bro. I would love this stuff.
Roller
to sound on my face. Small text for salvation.
Are you good, Will, or did you go down? Okay. Oh, I know this one. Batman's probably the one I know the best. 'Cause there, like, lots of Batman movies came out when I was like a kid. I feel like I've seen lots of Batman.
There's different.
I don't think.
Just like a cartoon.
It looks like there's a lot of different ones.
Yeah, no kidding. It looks like there's all sorts of.
I was gonna go no. Decided not
Nothing.
to. Oh, nothing.
Was that one not worth any points? No, it was.
I don't
Really?
know about
Apparently, the people who know, like they did not, like, or they all didn't.
Oh.
Okay. I feel like the logo maybe gives it away.
it.
No, dang it.
Yes.
I was like, it's an R. It's got to be red.
What about?
No.
So are these things
I
in
know my
movies, or is
sister
this all
was
comic
like,
stuff?
"Oh,
Like,
Oh, sure. I'm actual big champion.
I kind of want it to be that.
It looks.
Yeah.
What? I clicked that. I can't.
All right. Luke, are you excited?
I never watched superhero movies. Oh, let's go.
They have twins or something? They have more than one kid?
Yeah, they're on lines.
Oh,
They're twins? Oh, okay.
I got that.
Obviously, Mrs. Donahue, they're twins.
oh.
Oh, we talked, Superman's Home Planet. We had this one before in something, right? Like,
Yeah. No, it was, I don't know.
because we talked about that, because we talked about the kryptonite being on the planet that we didn't know.
Well, then it was wrong.
Yeah, because it was Smallville last time, and you told us that was wrong, yeah. And all the rest of us were like, what? Like,
That's
Oh. Barry Allen.
I guess it's not very.
I know that. Because that's what I went with.
That's what I was gonna go with.
Now they're making fun of us.
Yes, it sounded like a real name, so I
I
went.
looked at the Wilson, I was like, I got it. That's pretty sick.
I am on. Oh, identity. How am I supposed to know?
We've already had Roy Harper, so that makes me think it's not Roy, because Roy was something for. Oh, no, he was the thing that Robin wasn't. Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think smart
Okay,
about
I'm
these
still in
questions.
fifth place. Good. Two more questions.
Oh my God, I don't know.
It's Bucky.
I don't know this. Who is
I don't
he?
even know who that is.
James.
Bucky Badger.
Is he Bucky? Bucky.
Bucky is a wizard. It was James. I was gonna call it.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
It knocked you off the leaderboard.
I've never watched a movie on Spice.
Well, I don't know. I don't watch.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think I only know.
I never watched.
It's not, is it not? Yeah, okay.
It says. Yeah. Yes, I know, but I never.
Who says that? That's another one I've actually seen.
You're right.
I'm pretty sure.
I wanna know how many I got.
Bro, I was at third place. And then I fell. I'm pretty sure I was in one.
We'll look at that game.
No, two. I know two.
I mean, that's why I put fake FC on
Right.
It was. It was a.
Alright, you guys want to see your overall results? No, correct.
Yeah, I wanna see it. Oh, man, I got it right.
Difficult questions. What was Green Arrow's secret identity?
Clearly.
How's the? What's my house for that? Or? It's not charging.
Okay,
It's not broken.
I have 65%.
Yeah, you passed the test.
I was.
Bruh.
Oh,
boy.
I got 65%, and I almost took a second.
Peanut, not a superhero fan. Some of us are very invested.
Behind you?
Who needs help?
I don't care, I never watched
You need to have superhero intervention. Alright, should we play one more?
Yes.
Alright, Nina, you pick our category, what should we do? Because that was not your thing.
Sports.
I did the character.
Oh, we need to do that. Yeah, I gotta get out of Marvel, finish get sports.
It changed.
Yep. I'm a pro at Disney, just like, you know, I've never watched.
I just hate people who.
There are lines that I watch, so not all.
It's interesting. No. There's interesting.
Why is it?
It's
A deep Disney question.
And I was in second, I was in second place.
Yeah, I played one the other day with one of my classes.
Oh, no.
Stretch.
Why is it Star Wars?
Racing
Disney
is
took
sports.
14 questions, good.
Racing
Did you
is
say
sports.
Disney?
Oh.
I'm all pro.
Alright, we'll do one more. Oh, top five, who won the last one, if you guys wanna come up?
Everybody
What's the
just
game,
goes
Ted?
on.
It's loading.
Oh, wait, no, it'll work. It's just the video's unavailable.
That's pretty epic.
That's so awesome.
I swear.
That's top five.
I'm gonna beat
You
you.
don't need this for the top five.
Like,
Oh, there's like, yeah, it's different genre.
Yeah.
I once had a friend try explaining all that to me and
I
then.
watched it. I got it.
Someone said that.
Right.
Right.
Alright, you ready?
Checked out.
The last one, and then we'll go back to it. We only have like two more examples. so.
Whoa. Oh.
I'm going.
14 years or 14 years. Just watching the street movie.
Oh.
Library.
Yeah, he took her to that library when she was.
The movie Frozen is based on the story.
What?
I guess so.
Let's go. Got it right.
I knew it was this one. I'm still right it. I was like,
I knew that.
Free.
Oh.
I
Oh.
see it.
Movie Aladdin, Christmas, Princess Jen. No, oh, you're wrong.
The
That's one of
the monkey's Aladdin's funny.
It's it's
And the carriage Jafar. I like Aladdin. Aladdin's up there, one of my favorites.
no.
I knew it right.
Why not a parents?
Parrots, the evil guys.
I don't know.
Who knew how old Snow White was?
She was 14.
Oh, you guys knew that?
She was 64.
Are you serious?
She got married very young.
They don't.
A child bride. The princess of Michigan.
64.
Mike Morrell.
Molly, what is her name?
Wow. Oh. Oh.
Wally's sad, isn't it?
I have no idea. I guess I moved that number.
Big hero sad. I
Right
cried in lots of movies. Mostly dogs, the dogs die in movies, I'm dog like.
I like
on. It
Wally.
describes when someone's having fun.
I didn't know about that.
They're just playing baseball and she starts crying.
I've never seen Lilo and Stitch.
Either
No.
It's not like a movie.
I never watched
I think it
I thought I
was
got
Stitch.
Yeah, we each
a weird for me. I don't know.
Friendship.
I'm in 13. This is not one.
How is this person's
Did they even say his name?
Prince.
Philip.
I know it's not here.
Oh, I got it.
Oh.
I just clicked
Prince
Philip
Eric.
Off the leaderboard.
because I like the name.
Oh, shoot.
We know this from last year. It's not this.
That's what, yeah, my other, like, It's the-
I will get a.
The Lion King.
Oh, shoot, I got it wrong. Oh, it's so, oh my God.
I guess I know. I can't see it.
Oh, sorry, she's from,
Tangled.
Tangled. Oh, Tangled? Oh, I forgot.
No, that's wrong. She's scared.
Well, I'm sorry.
I don't know if it matters to me either way, but.
I love the frog.
I got that.
I've never seen that one either.
Yeah.
Was it ever made? I don't remember.
Is that a
I have no idea.
Oh,
I guessed on
Watch Snow White.
I like it. I think I'm wrong with something.
What?
No snoozy, sleepy.
Oh, my gosh.
Bruh, I'm so mad they didn't have lightning.
Oh, yeah.
He's the most important character.
All right,
Oh,
top
it's
five.
Vader.
Faith double top five today. And so
Mac is
Alex,
more important than Vader.
Vader's better.
No, Mac.
Vader.
No,
Don't argue with
it's
Vader.
Armister.
Luke, like the lead.
And Sisula's more.
Vader.
Luke,
oh,
right between.
Vader.
Hudson.
Hold trust me.
No, it's Hudson.
No, it's Vader.
Hudson's the best. Or Doc.
No, Vader.
Dr. Hudson.
Vader's a beast.
No. I know it's Leonard the King.
Yeah.
But we all know.
okay. So we'll finish our last two examples and then, the science homework. And also some time for homework. Hopefully those of you guys who were online either played the game with us or fast forwarded.
I hope you had fun.
All right, so part of our homework today will be to do some graphing, but being able to graph a line with the specific information. So it says graph the line that contains G. So I'm going to put G on the graph. So here's G. And is parallel to the line that goes through -2, 4, and 2, 1. We could probably graph that line as well. So like this blue line here. So I want to draw a line that's parallel to the blue line, but goes through G. A couple of different ways we could go about this. Any ideas on how you would explain how to graph that line? You can't just draw it freehand because it looks good. Yeah, what do you think? Yeah, and do you want to find the slope from the slope formula or from the graph? Graph. So when you already have it graphed, it's a lot easier just to find the slope right now. Why go ahead and do like the y2 minus y1? There's so many places to make mistakes. What Stella's suggesting is why not just talk about the slope the way it is here. So the slope for this line is down 3 and then over 4. What's my parallel line slope going to be? The parallel line slope going to be? Yeah, go ahead, Pete. Same thing, yep. It's also going to be, so same slope. So we need to go down 3 and over 4 on G, but if you notice, I'm going to run off my graph. What can I do instead? I can go up 3 and then back 4. Up 3, back 4. Really bad plan. So there's our parallel line that goes through G that's parallel to that blue line. So you'll be doing some graphing like that where you're gonna try to use the information they give you. Now they give us the exact same information in this next problem except they changed one really important word. Now they have perpendicular. So again, I'm going to graph my G. I graph G. But now this time I want to be perpendicular to the line that goes through -2, 4, and 2, 1. And it might be easy just to graph that so we can see it. So this time I want to be perpendicular to that line. If you guys recall, that slope was a -3 over 4, right? Down 3 over 4. So what is our new slope gonna be? What kind of 4 over 3? Yeah, so our new slope is gonna be a positive 4 over 3. So I flip it and I change the sign. So going through G, I'm gonna go up 4 and over 3. It kind of runs off there. So I can also reverse that. Down 4. Okay, don't talk while I'm counting. And then over 3. So when I draw this line, hopefully it looks pretty perpendicular. My graph, like my board is a little stretched here, so that maybe it doesn't look as perpendicular as you'd like, but it's supposed to be. Does that make sense? Any questions there at all? So the rest of the graph paper that's listed there for you guys is for you guys to use for homework. So you can actually probably do your homework right on this note packet. Let me put up what the homework will be, just because we have to like basically finish up the pages we did last time. Let me pull it up for you guys. All right. We'll just make this live right away. So our homework then is going to be, it's basically what we haven't done yet. So it's the same, it's all the numbers we did that we kind of skipped last time, but we're still gonna stick with odds. So 11 through 17 odds, and then 23 through 29 odds. Same pages as last time. So we're still in that same section. So if you took pictures from yesterday, or you still have your pictures online, it should be the same pages you guys had last time. And we have about 15 minutes here to get going on that.